Here we are, Santa Monica Beach, one of my favorite spots. Actually, this is my favorite parking spot because this is a hill, so I can just look out over the other cars and sort of just check out the scene, the skaters, the bikers. I don't know, it always seems to be dramatic. Today's a pretty dramatic day too. I love it. Pretty cool. It's a 16,000th of a second day today, wide open. I was thinking about going over there where the fence is, the sand break, you know. So there's a clean area right over there where I can actually stand on the little wall.
There's a wall?
Yeah, there's a wall.
Oh, you want her to stand on that?
No, I will. I'm going to put her out with that clean background out there.
Great.
Wow, that's a tough one, describing A Stab at Heaven in my own words. We joked, lived for a portion of this production, which was 5 years in development and filming in Emma's head. So my words are this sort of blend with her words, and it gets all very confusing. Now, A Stab at Heaven is a important and honest journey on the part of Emma Mckie, whose story this film chronicles. In my words, describing the Stab at Heaven is it's layered, it's nuanced, it's a deconstruction of the narrative form to most closely approximate the way our mind works in terms of the complexity of thinking about and feeling different things at the same time. And so we wanted to provide enough elements so that anybody would have their own experience so that they could latch on to an element of the narrative. So we're able to develop the film through Emma's actual experiences, and then in my, I feel interesting way, I was able to put it in terms of directionless and, sort of a deconstruction of typical cinema narrative, form.
For me, A Stab at Heaven is a story of the internal journey of coming home and finding out who you are in the wake of the big things that happen to us, that happen to anybody, and using the tools of my experiences to project that forward and share that it's okay. For lack of a better term, take the long road. It is a road film, so we spend a lot of time trying to get somewhere. And inevitably, where I'm trying to get is somewhere that is both within me and doesn't exist. It comes from a series of events that happened to me when I was 18, and arguably probably the most difficult period of my life thus far. But it was such a beautiful process because we brought so much hope and redemption and life to it and really gave it the time of day and time to breathe. It's interesting because I get asked a lot about how I'm doing and if it was a very difficult process. And my answer has always been and always will be I'm smiling thinking about it because it was such an enjoyable process, because when you go through something so big and deep, you inevitably have to sort of shut it down and stick it in a box and move on, right? But that's so not who I am. And so this project was a way to bring other people into the world of the emotional and the internal and how I feel about the hard stuff, which is, let's bring them to light. It's okay, it's part of the whole.
We call it a truth story because everyone's truth is different. So a truth story rather than a true story, because there is no universal true. And we wanted to make sure that we stayed true to that. She's back. Let's see you start closer to the fencing on the other side. Start between that break and then come to here and what you did, just sort of stand in that. If you come between the two, it's hard to focus. It's just hard to focus.
I'm not
go up there first and we can find our spot.
Right. Okay, we're good. Wow, that's pretty, I cannot do that. It just doesn't happen. You know, work with Emma on this film that chronicles her truth story was a real, for me, unique opportunity to tell something that is intelligent and truthful and poignant, and therefore my interest was piqued with those elements. I really don't like to work in a conventional way with people who I don't necessarily know that well, and where it's a prescribed, script format. This took us, Stab at Heaven took us, a few years to get to the cinematic structure that you'll see in this film. And so that's really my, sort of format of choice. The telling of a story that's important to me, that means something to me, with someone who is truthful and brilliant like Emma is. I don't look for this material. It sort of literally landed on my lap one day, and I was resistant at first, not for any reason, but I just was sort of not interested in making films at that time, and it just resonated to me as a huge opportunity to do sort of a lifelong desire to make a film of this importance.
When we started working on this project, it was really interesting. I'm very new at this, right? But the process that Mark brought in so beautifully was with such ease, and it felt so natural. And so we started out with such a humanistic approach, right? So talking about the truth of what had happened, and then moving seamlessly into where I was at that time, and then moving further into where I'm at now with it. And then from there came in the writing, when Mark asked me to take a few notes, and I ended up writing so much. It was a really nice process because we were able to step away from the tangible and go into a weird place that exists, right? Where we operate inside of our heads. And it honestly quite wild to think about. So with storytelling on the base level, right, you have the tangible. You have me, a character, interacting with another character, and both of them interacting with the space. And inevitably, in such a beautiful way, you have them interacting with you, the viewer, through the camera. And then what we've done here, which I had so much fun with, we took how it would work if you took what was inside here and took things that we couldn't quite articulate, and we found a way to articulate them, or Mark found a way to articulate them through visual, taking emotional into the visual in such a way that it was almost finally tangible. And it was lovely because we spent 5 years living inside of my head while I was trying to figure out all of this. And the wonderful thing is we were able to bring even more people into that. We were able to bring in crew, we were able to bring in other actors, and every single person within our team understood that so well and had such a beautiful respect for this mid-ground that we were living in. And I just love how it translated and how it came to be. And I think the most fun thing about this is that it all came through a camera.
It was really challenging to find other actors, participants in this film, because for me it needs to resonate in the same way of a certain truth. So they were really handpicked, people who I already knew and people I'd already worked with, and people who are of substance, their own substance that they can impart to the narrative that is designed by Emma and I. Finding people for this project was critically important, and I really feel like we were blessed. Heather Langenkamp was a dear friend, and is a dear friend rather. We go way back, and then finding Pedro Correa was sort of an interesting story, where I had done some work with him in the still genre, and he said, "Oh, like if that's cool, man. I love the pictures, and if I could repay you, the favor." And I said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I'm doing this film called The Stab at Heaven," and he was like, "All right, I'm down." And so he sort of signed on by being generous with his praise for the work that we did together, and so. Thanks, Pedro. You were great in it, amazing in it. I appreciate it.
Working on this project with everyone that was involved, regardless of what their role was in telling the story, was very interesting because it felt very mirrored. I found myself seeing things through my eyes as well as their eyes, in a sense. It was really illuminating because I got to have a fresh take on it, right? And that's the beauty of working on a project with others, is that you get to combine all these perspectives, that whole poetic notion of, you're walking down the street and that person is having their life, and that person is having their kind of a day, and this person is going through that. And working on this project felt like that a lot. It was a lot of driving down the street and looking out the window and making eye contact with someone and just feeling a lot within them and having that acknowledgement. I do feel that though it is a story about me, it was such a big collaboration. And this story and this film, it has as much of Mark or Pedro or Sage or Heather or Nico or anyone who worked on it. We were all so deep in it, and it was such a big collaboration.
Like, look at that.
Ooh.
You see, so that's without the daylight. It's an amazing little flashlight with an hand-ground aspherical lens on the front. They stopped making, you can't get it anymore. Yay!
So many.
Thank you.
So many. You don't need any more black and white on the monochrome? You're good?
Nope, I think we're good. There's only so much greatness you can have in one day.
And I'm like a little kid, like cameras, I still have not quite figured out how they are able to do what they do, because I just find them to be absolute magic. And so it's been so nice working with such an intimate kind of camera on such an intimate project, because with the way, you use light and focal range and sharpness, and honestly, to be quite frank, like the way the sensors process colors on these cameras really ties in with how I feel the emotions of this film needed to be translated.
Process for me in terms of equipment choice is very specific. I'm a person who tests everything and have actual data that is my own. And my choice after testing all of the cinema cameras, I actually ended up with shooting the Leica SL3 just a brilliant camera in so many ways, and also disarming in the sense that it's not something that is intrusive to the process. I mean, working with Emma, first of all, we worked together for years and years and just done brilliant stuff. And so for her, having the Leica, the form factor, she was used to. She doesn't even see it. because it's almost like it's weird for her to see me without it, because we just work so much together. And when we go to dinner, I tend to carry it also just in front of my face to, keep it consistent with our work. And, that's a joke, by the way. So it needed to be something that was unobtrusive. And you don't realize how intrusive certain cameras, their form factor, or big lenses, or a big, Aeroflex camera, which are brilliant, the Alexa, but, again, it requires being on sticks or the dolly, and it's just a totally different environment. So she needed to have a safe place and not be distracted by things around her, or having to have supplemental lighting and this and that. People who have seen the screening of the film, look at it and go like, oh my God, that just looks like your stills, but they're just moving. And like for me, it's the ultimate technical compliment, in addition to the compliments of authentic emotional content that we were able to communicate by providing a safe place for Emma between, sort of that environment of safety and truth, in the sense that there's nothing selling. When Sean and I talk, and when Sean talks to other people, it's not about selling something. It's about informing, and it's about being comfortable with, that information and that emotion that is contained in that information. And then, of course, how that works with Emma is that I come in from a place of truth, not only emotionally, intellectually, or spiritually, but also technically, so that it's a fluid environment in which to create, where I'm not bogged down by settings, or I wonder how this is going to look, or like I walk in, I know exactly what it is. It takes milliseconds for me to get to the look. I don't grade one frame of my cinema with the SL system, because it doesn't require it, because it is me and I am at it, and then I'm able to translate that to a situation that is, a safe environment, full of truth, so that Emma can express herself that way. And it's remarkable. My relationship with Sean Craner goes back 25 years, actually. I'm still upset about Camera West leaving Monterey. I understand why and all that stuff, but it was a destination for me. I would travel a lot up to Monterey and go to the racetrack up there. I love automobile racing, or any type of racing. And, so I'd always see Sean, and I love the camera brand. I've been using it since I'm 12 years old. My father used it. So it was always just a great destination for me. And Sean, we developed a mutual trust and an understanding of the brand and the gear. And it was always about, sort of this confidence in each other, sort of like encyclopedic knowledge of, the information of, optical design and, camera design. And so we would exchange. And through this process, I was able to, in some cases purchase, and a lot of cases be able to just, borrow and use, to get a sense of what these elements, how they differ from one another, what the advantages are, what the art is, the color science. And so, you've got a camera here that's made in 1963, an M2, through the latest SL3, which is amazing. I've been wringing its neck pretty hard recently, and just the results are amazing. And one of my favorite cameras, the Your Mark, which was actually Sean's design and initiation, the 246 monochrome, which is sort of like, it's always, on my heart. So I'm able through Sean, because he has such a scope of equipment, that you can try things and experience them, and that is just sort of a mutual thing. We can exchange the results or the feelings of it, and so that garners a wealth of information for Sean to be able to impart to other people. Some of the findings that he gets, and mine as well. So. Yeah, he's just a dear friend, and a wealth of information, because things are changing so rapidly in the digital world. New cameras, new sensors, new lenses, and so staying on top of it is more than like a job for one person, while also shooting and working in the field. So
Mark and I have been friends for gosh, maybe 9 years at this point, maybe 10, who knows, a long time. And we've been working together for most of that. And when we first were talking about the story a long, long time ago, he had suggested that it would make a good movie. And just without hesitation, and I still, like every day I have stood by this of, well, I want you to make it. I want you to make this film if anyone's going to, because for lack of a better term, he gets it. You know, he gets me where I'm at half the time before I even do. And he brings such subtlety and such a delicate touch to the work that he does in all aspects. And working with him was honestly just such an honor that we got to do this together and that he was interested in carrying such a big, heavy project for so long and treating it with such grace.
It's very Beverly Hills Hotel.
Yeah, and like up on
But not, by the way. We are not at the Beverly Hills Hotel. That's beautiful. Can you see it on the back of the camera? Or you?
anything, but I want to see what you're doing.
Wow.
Yeah, cool.
God.
Sorry, Emma.
Dreamy.
This isn't just any story. This is a story that's important, not just to Emma, but important for Emma to tell the story because it relates to anyone. There's a way to relate to this film and this journey of challenge, of grief, of overcoming these things, learning about herself. But most notably, you know, it's an interesting, film because it's not a documentary. It's a narrative film, but it's a true story, Emma's truth story. But it requires such incredible bravery and strength to tell a truth. And people don't do it. People don't speak in truths. People hide truths. They run from truths. They want to be happy and not challenged. And Emma, uniquely meets challenges, and you can feel that strength, and that's what makes the film successful. It doesn't matter what I do, in that, without the element of Emma and her bravery and her truth to tell this story. You really got to see it, because I've never seen anything like it. In short, the process of making A Stab at Heaven is the fulfillment of a lifelong dream, of a truth that resonates with me, and the ability for me to translate that, seamlessly into then my truth as a director and writer. Yeah, it's sort of just truth that runs backwards and forwards.
A Stab at Heaven is one of those projects that is like a lot of relationships where at some point you have to sit there and realize that all of the things that have happened and gone well and gone poorly have led you to this moment where things are calm and it's just okay to be a person.
Imagine like the end of the documentary, the most profound statements.
I am the egg.